This Moonless Sky Part 2. Marrik, the narrator, 17 years old biologically, plus around 400,000 years frozen, explains how his embarrassment at liking a fellow young man he's just met connects to his being situated on another planet. Now, we'll turn the microphone over to Marrik. This is really embarrassing, but I might as well get it over with. I tried to kill myself. I grew up in a small town on a lake right next to the Rocky Mountains in western North America. Marrik Springs, if you want to know the name. Small towns are supposed to be idyllic, but I'd had a tough time of it, or so I thought. My biological parents were both flops of some kind. Petty crime, nasty drugs, depression, violence. I don't remember any of it, or them. I got attached to one foster mom after another, and I was then adopted by a couple who tried their best, but I already had a chip on my shoulder. No parent was ever going to abuse my trust again by taking my love and then letting me down. I was going to look out for myself. My attempts to be a big man, though, were thwarted at every turn. I wet the bed often enough that I didn't dare sleep away from the home, and something geekish about me attracted other kids to me for violence practice. I was their favorite contact sport. Meanwhile, when it came to real sports, I was a nothing, except volleyball of all things, which seemed to suit me well. This was not a social salvation at my school. I had too much imagination. I was often caught daydreaming. Fantasy was my best friend. But as I came around to 10 or 11 years old, I began to be dumbstruck by other boys who suddenly turned magnificent and started radiating all the glories of the universe until my whole head sang like a choir in their praise. I had that sexuality, as I began to realize. That's all I need. If they found that out, I'd be their spittoon and something to crush under their shoes. And some of my fantasies, well, they went even further out on a limb. Harmless, you could say, but surely no one would go there. I called myself a pervert in my own mind. I was very hard on myself. Meanwhile, I argued with my adoptive mom and dad about everything. I appreciated the hospitality, but how did these people think they'd bought the right to tell me what to do? And yet, what should I do? Everything I could think of led nowhere. I couldn't do anything well, and there was no way I could ever meet an equally strange boy to be best friends with. I didn't even think to ask the world to supply me a boyfriend. I was short on basic sympathy, except from my poor parents, who I couldn't accept it from, because that would be compromising. Don't ask me to explain that. One night when I was 14, I wet my bed for the first time in a long time, and then, after going back to sleep, I had a wet dream about a boy. My dad couldn't have known about the last part, but when he gave me a long sigh about the first bit, it was as painful as a slap. I went off to school to have my backpack stolen and my face rubbed in a snowbank when I tried to get it back. The last class was gym, and we were doing gymnastics, which was like a torturer's manual on how to get me to make a fool of myself from every angle. I cut the class, even though that would theoretically get me in big trouble at home, and I walked out along the back roads to a railroad bridge over a deep canyon. After a long time that I don't want to think about, with tears running all over me and making me a mess, I jumped. The train was coming. I had to make a decision. Up and over. Whoosh, stomach ice. What am I doing? Shit, no! I was dimly surprised to actually feel myself hit something, as if I was still alive. But it was a hard hit. I was out after that. It turned out that a couple of my metallic friends were on expedition to the Earth, and they'd camouflaged themselves discreetly among the couplings between train cars. When they saw me drop, they leapt also, and with some clever use of thrusters, they managed to reach me and somewhat break my fall. But as they said to me, "You were not easy to fix." I managed to do a lot of damage to myself. A judgment was made that Earth medicine would not succeed with me, and I was taken into extraterrestrial care, free of cost. The only price I paid was to wake up a third of the way to Mars. Ironically, I have never wet the bed since then. We humans sometimes get upset too easily. And I did have a bed on the spaceship, and a little bedroom, too. I woke by day, quote-unquote, and slept by night, quote-unquote. They were identical. For a few months, as we went deeper out into the terrestrial solar system. The Metallics who had visited the Earth had made an amazing collection of games and electronica by rifling garbage dumps and finding lost and discarded objects. We played on-screen games from all eras, and even Monopoly and chess. The chess matches were silly. The aliens were impossible to beat, but they could make the game interesting by discussing strategies with me. More embarrassingly, there was no point playing Trivial Pursuit-type games with them. They seemed to have sucked up the Earth cultures to the last word and stored them in their collective computer memory. They knew baseball games from the major leagues to the little leagues, and knew their cricket matches from Mumbai equally well. Oh well. They could sing any opera from beginning to end, with all the voices. Incredible. If I missed hearing a song from the radio, one of them would play it for me. They monitored all the signals from the Earth and kept me in touch with new music and movies, even as Mars drifted by distantly on the port side. Then one morning, Toomey leaned in my bed just as I was having a stretch and said, "Mark, good morning, and I wish you many more, but I have to give you a little speech now." Pause. I nodded. "Okay, I think you don't want to spend too much of your life. You have a limited lifespan with a bunch of artificial guys in a floating bus station. Though I will keep my promise to keep you in good shape, we're going to have to go cryogenic soon. You remember when we talked about that? The time is coming to freeze you up for a while, because we can't feed you or have you breathing around here much longer. Your human form is ridiculously high maintenance. I mean, we understand, because we used to be like that too, 70 million years ago or so." Earth years, he meant. He was good at adapting to local customs. "Yeah, I'm expensive," I said, feeling the oxygen go into me and looking at the well-humidified smoothness of the back of my hands. Just a small part of the ship was oxygenated, and only for me and a few ferns. Most of the living cargo had already been stored away in icy, synthetic-lined vaults. The Metallics didn't breathe. "We can't fall too far behind the last ship, or else we'd take you back." They had a whole time series of ships, all moving through space in a convoy, several of our decades apart. "But what we can do is drop you off on Voyaler and let you live a good human life. We are developing that planet. I've heard it's expected to be better than Earth in a few thousand years. I think you'll like it." "I guess," I said. "Well, thank you for looking after me. I'm ready to do whatever you say. The only regret I have is that it's the very end of any chance I could think of to have some way to tell my parents I love them. I still just wish I could, like, phone them or something." I was always saying this kind of thing. I felt unbearably guilty a lot of the time. So much love, and I'd just been a suicidal crybaby. If other people could only live like me to know what it's like to commit suicide successfully, they would never do it. Or maybe they would if they were in horrible physical agony, I don't know, but not because a bully said something mean to them. I was stupid enough to read all the stuff that was written about me in the local paper, and the school paper, and the Facebook posts, and so on. It all came up to the spaceship via the internet on satellite signals. Any one paragraph in those stories made up for all the bad things that had ever been said to me or about me. The feelings people expressed weren't just made up. Some of them really loved me, especially my parents. I could see their expressions and my mum's tears in the one photo that got published. I was so ashamed. And when I think about it, which is often enough, I still am. Thousands of years later. Oh gosh, I am sorry. So sorry. So sorry. So sorry. It struck us. He is so sorry. I have to snap out of it or I'll be crying for who knows how long. Sigh. Life goes on. Weird but true. Oh, that etenemus tragus, a phrase from our local church service. Lord, carry this message for me. Anyways, the spaceship guys and I had already had the conversation about my parents several times. What would I say to Mom and Dad if I could be patched into their phone? I could say, I love you, but then what? That I'd run off somewhere and couldn't come back? That would explain the fact that nothing was found of me but bloodstains on a rock. Though realistically, no one could have survived the height I dropped from. The train engineer had seen me jump. I sure messed up his mind. Oh boy. It was assumed that a bear or a cougar must have dragged my body off someplace completely inaccessible. So if I was alive and could phone, why not return home? My absence would be inexplicable. It could only seem like I refused to return. That approach would be cruelty, not a consolation. And then there was the idea of telling the truth. That would come across like the first approach, combined with madness. Probably a huge search would be organized to go look for my hallucinating self. No, better not go there. There was nothing to do but sit in the spaceship and focus on buying back Marvin Gardens and trying to pass go again as soon as possible before Kawi to me, could buy more hotels. I really had terminated myself as an Earth person. That's so stupid. At least I can do better in this next life. So yes, let's get back to Earth here. I mean to Voiler. The metallics, the ceremony of greeting. So here came this kid of circa 14, looking very intelligent and eager to see the new world, down out of, well, my spaceship. Where had they been hiding him? Had he been in the icebox all along? Could they only revive one at a time? To be continued.